Ever felt a chill crawl down your spine in an empty room? What if I told you some places in the Philippines are never truly empty? From ghostly nurses in abandoned hospitals to weeping women in cursed mansions, these haunted houses hide stories so terrifying, even skeptics flee before sunset. Tonight, we're diving into the 10 most bone-chilling haunted houses across the islands, where the walls whisper the dead don't rest, and every shadow has a name. Lock your doors, turn up the lights, and pray your screen doesn't flicker before we're done. This isn't just a list, it's a warning. 1. The White House, Balete Drive, Quezon City. The White House on Balete Drive in Quezon City is perhaps the most infamous haunted house in the Philippines, a place shrouded in decades of terror and spine-chilling tales. Built in the 1950s, this eerie white-painted mansion has become synonymous with supernatural encounters, particularly the ghost of a woman in white, often described as having long, flowing hair and a blood-stained dress. Locals claim she is the spirit of a young girl who was raped and murdered inside the house, her restless soul forever lingering near the towering balete tree in the front yard. Countless drivers passing by at night report seeing her suddenly appear in the middle of the road, causing near accidents. Some who dared to stop claim their cars mysteriously stalled, only to restart once the apparition vanished. Residents nearby tell stories of hearing disembodied screams and weeping in the dead of night, while others swear they've seen the woman's ghostly figure staring from the windows. Paranormal investigators who have explored the house describe sudden temperature drops, unexplained scratches, and an overwhelming sense of dread. The house has had multiple owners over the years, many of whom fled after experiencing terrifying phenomena. Objects moving on their own, shadowy figures in the halls, and an unseen force gripping them in their sleep. Even skeptics who entered the house as a dare often left shaken, some reporting being touched or whispered to by an invisible presence. Despite attempts to debunk the legends, the White House remains a hotspot for ghost hunters and thrill seekers, its sinister reputation cemented in Filipino folklore. Whether myth or reality, one thing is certain: after dark, Balete Drive belongs to the dead. 2. The Diplomat Hotel, Baguio City. Perched atop Dominican Hill in Baguio City, the abandoned Diplomat Hotel is a crumbling relic of war, death, and restless spirits. Built in 1915 as a retreat for Dominican friars, it later became a refuge during World War II, and eventually a site of unspeakable horrors. Legend says Japanese soldiers beheaded dozens of priests and civilians in its halls, staining the floors with blood. Others claim it was used as a torture chamber, the echoes of screams still trapped within its decaying walls. Visitors who brave its ruins report an oppressive, suffocating dread the moment they step inside. Shadowy figures dart through doorways, disembodied whispers hiss from empty rooms, and some have captured ghostly faces in photographs, gaping mouths frozen in silent screams. The most infamous spirit is the headless priest, often seen wandering the ruins, clutching his severed head. Others tell of a weeping woman in white, her sobs echoing through the corridors at night. Workers restoring the site in the 2000s refused to return after tools vanished, only to reappear in impossible places, and unseen hands shoved them in broad daylight. Despite its dark past, the Diplomat Hotel was briefly converted into a tourist attraction. But even then, guests fled in the middle of the night, swearing they saw figures standing at the foot of their beds. Today, the ruins stand as a grim monument to the dead, with locals warning against staying after sunset. Whether it's the wind howling through broken windows or something far more sinister, one thing is clear: the Diplomat Hotel has never been empty. The dead still walk its halls. 3. Laperal White House, Baguio City. The Laperal White House, a charming yet ominous American-era mansion tucked along Leonard Wood Road in Baguio, hides a dark past beneath its quaint, weather-worn facade. Built in the 1920s by the Laperal family, this three-story wooden structure was once a vacation home before becoming the setting for whispered horror stories. Locals claim the house is cursed. Tragedies befell the original owners, including untimely deaths and financial ruin, leading many to believe the land itself is tainted. During World War II, Japanese soldiers allegedly used it as a torture site, staining its floors with blood and suffering. Those who enter describe an unnatural chill, even on warm days, and the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Visitors report hearing phantom footsteps pacing the upper floors, while others have seen the ghost of a woman in a flowing white dress staring from the windows. Some say she is a grieving mother who lost her children during the war. Photographs taken inside often reveal eerie mists or blurred faces in the background. A caretaker once swore he saw a spectral Japanese soldier standing in the hallway, only for it to vanish when he blinked. Even the city's bravest paranormal investigators admit feeling an overwhelming sense of sorrow within its walls, as if the house itself remembers its grim history. Despite its reputation, the Laperal White House was restored and opened as a tourist attraction, but the hauntings persist. Guests who linger too long report sudden dizziness, nausea, or the sensation of hands brushing against them in empty rooms. Some claim the spirits grow agitated at night, slamming doors and whispering in the dark. Whether it's residual energy from wartime atrocities or the restless dead clinging to their former home, one thing is certain. The Laperal White House is more than just a historic landmark. It's a place where the past refuses to stay buried. 4 Clark Hospital, Pampanga. The abandoned Clark Hospital in Pampanga stands as a decaying monument to suffering, its crumbling walls echoing with the tormented whispers of the past. Built during the American colonial era, this once bustling medical facility served as a military hospital before becoming a field clinic during World War II, where countless soldiers and civilians met gruesome ends. Locals believe the spirits of the dead never left, their agonized cries still seeping through the hospital's rotting corridors. The most chilling legend tells of a headless nurse who roams the halls, her spectral figure clutching a rusted scalpel as she searches for her missing head. Others speak of shadowy patients writhing on invisible gurneys, their moans rising in the dead of night. Daredevils and paranormal investigators who've ventured inside tell of doors slamming shut on their own, ghostly hands gripping their wrists, and disembodied screams that seem to come from every direction. Some visitors report the overpowering stench of antiseptic and rotting flesh, despite the hospital being empty for decades. Eerie EVP recordings capture pleads for help in both English and Japanese, a haunting reminder of the lives lost during the war. Security guards assigned to the perimeter refuse to patrol alone, claiming they've seen figures peering from broken windows, only for them to vanish when approached. Even skeptics leave unnerved, their cameras malfunctioning or capturing unexplained streaks of light. The Philippine government has attempted to repurpose the site, but construction crews often abandon their work, citing tools that go missing and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Some workers swear they've seen bloodstains appear on the walls before fading away like a macabre mirage. Whether it's the residual trauma of wartime horrors or something far more sinister, Clark Hospital remains a place where the veil between the living and the dead is perilously thin. Those who listen closely might hear the faint rasp of a dying breath or the slow, deliberate footsteps of the headless nurse coming closer. 5 Don Alfonso Uy Mansion, Iloilo City. The Don Alfonso Uy Mansion in Iloilo City is a grand yet foreboding structure that exudes both elegance and unease. Built in the 1920s by a wealthy Filipino-Chinese businessman, the mansion's grandeur hides a tragic past that has birthed countless ghost stories. Locals whisper that the Uy family suffered a series of misfortunes, including untimely deaths and financial ruin, leading many to believe the house is cursed. The most persistent tale is that of a heartbroken woman, possibly a member of the Uy family, who took her own life within its walls. Her spirit is said to linger, her mournful wails echoing through the empty halls late at night. Those who have dared to enter report an oppressive atmosphere, as if the very air is heavy with sorrow. Shadowy figures have been seen gliding across the ornate wooden floors, and some visitors claim to have heard the faint sound of a piano playing, despite no one being there. A caretaker once recounted seeing a woman in a flowing white dress standing on the balcony, her face obscured by a veil, only for her to vanish when he called out. Others speak of cold spots that seem to follow them room to room, and the unsettling feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Paranormal investigators have captured eerie EVPs, voices pleading in hushed tones, and even the distinct sound of weeping. Despite its haunted reputation, the mansion has become a magnet for thrill seekers and ghost hunters. Yet even the boldest visitors often leave unnerved, some reporting sudden bouts of dizziness or the sensation of invisible hands brushing against them. The mansion's current owners have tried to dispel the rumors, but the stories persist, fueled by generations of chilling encounters. Whether it's the residual energy of past tragedies or the restless spirit of a woman wronged, the Don Alfonso Uy Mansion remains a place where the past refuses to stay silent and where the line between the living and the dead blurs in the moonlight. 6. The Convent at Loe Church, Bohol. The old convent at Loe Church in Bohol is a place where time seems to stand still, its weathered stone walls holding secrets of faith and terror in equal measure. Built during the Spanish colonial era, this centuries-old structure served as a refuge for friars and a prison for those deemed enemies of the church. Locals speak in hushed tones about the atrocities committed within its chambers, tales of secret trials, tortured prisoners, and nameless souls buried beneath its floors. The most chilling legend tells of a Spanish priest who went mad within these walls, his ghost still seen pacing the corridors with a lantern, his hollow eyes burning with eternal remorse. Others whisper of a faceless nun who glides through the convent's ruined halls, her skeletal fingers trailing along the moss-covered stones. Visitors who enter describe an unnatural silence, as if the air itself is holding its breath. Some report hearing faint murmurs of prayer in archaic Spanish, while others feel an icy grip on their wrists, a phantom restraint from unseen hands. A group of students once documented strange scratches appearing on their arms after exploring the basement, where prisoners were allegedly kept in darkness. Photographs taken inside often reveal shadowy figures lurking in doorways or the distorted face of a screaming man in the background. Even during daylight, the convent exudes a palpable dread, with birds avoiding its rooftops and stray animals refusing to enter. Despite its eerie reputation, the old convent remains a site of morbid curiosity. Tour guides recount stories of cameras malfunctioning and flashlights dying without warning, as if something doesn't want its secrets exposed. One caretaker claims to have seen the ghost of a chained prisoner materialize before him, only to dissolve into the walls with a rattling sigh. Whether these manifestations are echoes of past sins or something more sentient, one thing is certain. The old convent at Loe Church is not just a relic of history. It's a place where the past is still alive, and it watches every visitor with hungry eyes. 7. The Manila Film Center, Pasay City. The Manila Film Center in Pasay City stands as a grotesque monument to human tragedy. its brutalist architecture hiding a macabre secret beneath its concrete floors. Built in 1981 under the Marcos regime, the structure became infamous for the horrific accident during its rushed construction when a scaffolding collapsed and buried dozens of workers in wet cement. Witnesses claim they heard the victims' screams as they slowly suffocated. But instead of halting construction to retrieve the bodies, the government allegedly ordered the cement poured over them to meet deadlines. To this day, urban legends insist their remains are still entombed within the building's foundations, their restless spirits trapped in a concrete grave. Those who enter the film center speak of an immediate, unnatural heaviness in the air, like walking into a tomb. Security guards report hearing phantom hammering and cries for help in the dead of night, while others have seen ghostly figures covered in gray sludge staggering through the halls. Performers and crew members working late claim to feel invisible hands tugging at their clothes or breath on their necks when no one is there. The most chilling accounts come from the basement, where visitors describe an overwhelming sense of drowning, as if the walls themselves are pressing in. Some have even captured eerie images of faces emerging from the concrete in photographs, their mouths frozen in silent screams. Despite attempts to rebrand the venue as a cultural hub, the Manila Film Center remains plagued by its grim history. Workers refuse to stay after sunset, and events held there often encounter unexplained technical failures, microphones picking up garbled whispers, lights flickering to reveal shadowy figures in empty seats. Whether it's the trapped souls of the dead or the building itself remembering its bloody birth, one thing is clear: the Manila Film Center doesn't just show horror stories, it lives one. Every cracked concrete wall seems to whisper the same terrible truth. Some disasters don't end when the cement dries. 8 Ozone Disco, Quezon City. The ruins of Ozone Disco in Quezon City stand as a grim memorial to one of the Philippines' deadliest nightclub disasters, where revelry turned to horror in minutes. On March 18, 1996, a fast-moving fire engulfed the packed disco during a graduation party, trapping hundreds inside as blocked exits and faulty wiring turned the venue into a death trap. The official death toll reached 162, though survivors insist many more were never accounted for. Their charred remains fused to the dance floor where they last stood. Today, the abandoned site pulses with eerie energy, as if the echoes of screams and pounding music still linger in the scorched walls. Locals swear the air still smells of smoke and burnt flesh on certain nights, while shadowy figures have been seen dancing behind broken windows to phantom beats. Taxi drivers avoid the area after midnight, reporting ghostly hitchhikers with melted skin who vanish from their back seats. Construction workers attempting to demolish the structure tell of tools flying from their hands and invisible forces pushing them from ladders. The most chilling accounts come from paranormal investigators who've recorded distinct EVPs. A girl giggling before suddenly shrieking, "Sunog!" Fire, and the sound of a crowd counting down to midnight, the exact moment the blaze erupted. Mediums who visited claim to feel dozens of hands grabbing at them, desperate souls trying to escape their endless loop of terror. Even the street outside feels unnaturally cold, with pedestrians reporting an overwhelming urge to run when passing the ruins after dark. Despite years of abandonment, the tragedy remains fresh in the city's memory. Survivors sometimes return, leaving flowers at the chain-link fence, only to see them wilt by morning, as if something in the ruins rejects remembrance. Whether it's residual trauma or trapped spirits reliving their final moments, Ozone Disco's legacy isn't just written in fire department reports. It's in the way stray dogs howl at the moonlit rubble, in the disco ball fragments still glittering in the debris like dead stars, and in the unshakable feeling that somewhere in that blackened shell The party never really ended. It just became a dance macabre for the forever young. 9. The Old Tayabas Municipal Jail, Quezon Province. The Old Tayabas Municipal Jail in Quezon Province is a crumbling relic of Spanish colonial cruelty, its moss-covered stone walls still radiating centuries of suffering. Built in the 1800s, this dungeon-like prison was designed to break spirits. Its cramped, windowless cells held revolutionaries, petty thieves, and innocent natives alike under inhuman conditions. The worst horrors occurred in the underground punishment chambers, where prisoners were left in complete darkness with only the company of rats and their own screams. Locals whisper that some inmates went mad in those dripping stone pits, scratching their own eyes out before dying in chains. Today, the abandoned jail's heavy iron doors creak open on their own at night, as if inviting visitors to witness its unspeakable past. Those brave enough to enter report an immediate metallic taste in their mouths, like blood on the tongue, and the sensation of being grabbed by invisible hands near the torture devices still bolted to the walls. Security cameras installed during a brief attempt to turn it into a museum captured shadowy figures shuffling through empty corridors, their leg irons clanking against the stone floors. The most frequently seen apparition is a skeletal prisoner in torn barong Tagalog, eternally scratching at the walls of cell number 7, where he allegedly starved to death. Night guards refused to patrol alone after multiple officers reported hearing phantom tribunals in session. The clatter of typewriters, Spanish commands, and sudden agonized wails from the now empty interrogation room. Despite its terrifying reputation, the jail draws historians and ghost hunters alike. Many leave abruptly after experiencing unexplained phenomena: cameras malfunctioning near the execution yard, EVPs whispering pleas for mercy in archaic Tagalog, or the overwhelming stench of rotting flesh near the old well where bodies were dumped. Some visitors discover fresh scratches on their bodies after leaving, as if the jail's lingering prisoners marked them for remembering too much. Whether these manifestations are echoes of trauma or something more sentient, one truth remains. The old Tayabas jail doesn't just house ghosts. It's a living, breathing monument to pain, where the stones themselves seem to weep in the monsoon rains, and where the dead still serve their sentences. 10. The abandoned Marcos Mansion, Leyte. The abandoned Marcos Mansion in Leyte looms over the coastline like a decaying monument to lost power, its shattered windows staring vacantly at the sea where Ferdinand Marcos once dreamed of ruling forever. Built as a presidential retreat during the dictatorship, this sprawling compound was abandoned after the 1986 revolution, leaving behind a ghostly shell that seems to pulse with residual greed and paranoia. Locals claim the spirits of Marcos' cronies still haunt the mansion, their phantom laughter echoing through the ballroom where they once toasted their stolen wealth. But the most chilling presence is said to be Marcos himself. His spectral figure has been spotted in the master bedroom, still clutching imaginary documents as he gazes from the balcony toward Malacañang, forever yearning for the power he lost. Workers hired to guard the property report typewriters clacking in empty offices and chandeliers swaying violently without wind. The swimming pool, now a concrete grave for dead leaves, sometimes ripples as if disturbed by invisible bathers. Some claim to see the watery outlines of Marcos's infamous shoe collection floating beneath the surface. Paranormal investigators have recorded ghostly whispers of political deals and screams that mimic the torture victims of the regime. The mansion's basement, allegedly used as an interrogation chamber, radiates such intense dread that even stray dogs whimper and flee when approaching its rusted door. During storms, witnesses report seeing shadow figures in military uniforms marching through the corridors, their jackboots clicking in perfect unison despite having no visible legs. What makes the mansion truly terrifying isn't just its ghostly activity, it's the uncanny way the structure seems to mirror the corruption it once housed. Vines strangle its columns like the tentacles of stolen wealth, while gold leaf peels from the walls in flakes resembling blood-stained banknotes. Visitors often leave with splitting headaches and nightmares of being trapped in a gilded cage, a sensation survivors of the regime swear feels eerily familiar. The Marcos mansion doesn't just haunt its visitors, it forces them to remember. Every crumbling cornice and dust-choked hallway whispers the same warning. Some ghosts don't linger because they're trapped. They stay because they're waiting for their turn to rule again.